Mr. Dodson looked on September 11th, 2013.
Yes.
Your Honor, the state moves to admit in the evidence states Exhibit 110 Charlie.
108 Charlie?
Sorry, 108 Charlie. Thank you, Your Honor.
Any objection, 108 Charlie?
No objection.
All right, 108 Charlie is admitted and may be published as you see fit.
Publishing 108 Charlie. Mr. Pass, is Mr. Dodson still here with us?
No, sir.
Did he pass away?
Yes, he did.
Now, Mr. Pass, I'm going to take these from you, okay?
Okay.
Put these right here. Now, I want to go back to September 11th of 2013, all right?
Okay.
Can you describe how that day started?
Well, that day particularly, it was around spring, and it was like we were going to pay rent, pay light bill, and get something to eat.
Okay. And so was this September, so was it fall time?
Yes, it was.
Now, Mr. Pass, how is your memory?
I guess I can say it's not that good.
Why is it not that good?
I mean, I had like a concussion when I played football once.
Okay. Do you have trouble sometimes remembering details?
Objection to it.
I stand in objection.
How are you at remembering specific details, Mr. Pass?
Some things I can remember, some things I can't.
Fair enough. Now, were you with Mr. Dodson that day, your friend?
Yes, I was.
And did he have a car?
Yes, he did.
And were you riding with him?
I was.
Now, were you sitting in the passenger seat or the driver's seat?
The passenger seat.
Did you all ever, did you all ever end up back at the Summerdale apartment complex?
We did after our journey.
And did you mention that did y'all previously have to pay some bills?
Yes, we did.
Now, when y'all pulled into the apartment complex, what happened?
Well, when we pulled in, we sat in the car for a while and listened to a song. And when we got ready to get out of the car, I just remember Dirty going to the side like, whoa, 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 what's going on? And I looked, and there was somebody at my car door on my passenger side where I was sitting. And I looked, and I tried to hurry up and get out the car. And that's when I hear a gunshot go off. And I tell Dirty, I say, run, run. And he looked, and he couldn't get away from the dude, and he just took off running. And shots was going off.
So, Mr. Bass, thank you for sharing that. I want to break this down. I'm going to publish what's already been admitted as 78 Charlie. Now, Mr. Bass, do you recognize anything in this photograph, however big or small?
The tassel in the car.
What do you recognize about that?
It's the same tassel from the high school I went to.
Now, using this car as an example, you all pulled in the apartment complex. Would you have been on your left and my left in the photograph when you were seated in the car?
I would have been on your left. On your left.
And would Mr. Dodson have been on our right?
Correct.
Now, I'm going to also publish what's been admitted as 79 Charlie. Another photograph about to come up. So, in this photograph, would you have been on the side of the car closest to us? Or as in, would you be on?
Correct.
Okay. Now, what direction did this suspect come from?
They came from the direction of the driver's side.
Okay. And in this photograph, you see, it's kind of hard to see, but you see in the top left, there's that white van.
Yeah, I see it.
Is that, what part of the apartment complex is where that van is?
The entrance.
So.
The exit and the entrance,
Exit and the entrance?
correct.
So No, keep going, Mr. Bass.
It's the exit and the entrance. That's the front and the front gate, the entrance and the exit, one way in, one way out.
The one, and when I say, white van, do you see the front gate in the photograph, Mr. Bass?
Yes.
And so did the suspect come from the general direction of the front of the apartment complex?
No, he came like from where the caution tape at on the right side of the picture.
Got it. And who got out of the car first? You or Mr. Dodson?
Mr. Dotson was out first.
Okay. And what did this guy say when he approached you all?
He said, "Dirty, you know what time it is?"
Now, what do you know, or what do you take, you know what time it is to me?
It mean really everything you got on you, you got to get up.
So is it fair to say that's like a robbery?
Basically, what it is.
Now, did this suspect have anything in his hands?
Yes.
What did he have?
It looked like a handgun.
What color was it?
I don't recall the color. I don't recall.
That's all right. Now, do you recall, was it in his left hand or his right hand? If you don't know, that's fine.
I can't remember.
Okay. Now, what did this gunman do with the gun after he said what time it is?
It was a shot that was fired.
Now, did he fire this shot? Was it in the air, in the ground?
In the ground.
Okay. And how close was Mr. Dotson to this gunman who fired the round?
He was approximately about 2.5 to 3 feet away.
Okay. So now, Mr. Bass, I'm gonna walk towards you.
Yes.
You tell me to stop when I'm gonna be the gunman approaching. You're Mr. Dotson, all right?
Mm-hmm.
You tell me when to stop, how close he was.
Right there.
Okay. And Mr. Pass, where were you when he was right there by Mr. Dotson?
I was outside of the car. Actually, right outside the car by the passenger seat.
Okay.
Passenger side. I was outside the car on the passenger side.
Now, Mr. Pass, this vehicle in 79 Charlie, where is that in relation to where you all's car was parked when this happened?
It's in the same vicinity of where the car was.
Okay. So, using this photograph, when the gunman approached Mr. Dotson and fired the round, where would you have been? You can use this gray car as a reference point. And if you need to use the pointer, you can.
I was like outside the car next door to the passenger side.
To the front passenger or the
The
back?
front passenger side.
Okay, got it. Now, what was your reaction to this?
I was just telling Dirty to run, you know, because there wasn't nothing we can do.
Now, was this nighttime or daytime?
It was around like 3 o'clock,
And-
maybe from noon to like 3 o'clock,
Okay.
afternoon time.
And was it a sunny day, a rainy day, a cloudy day?
It was a Sunday.
Did this gunman who approached, did he have a mask on?
No, he had long hair. You couldn't see his face.
Were you able to recognize his face?
No, sir.
Now, what was your initial reaction after the gunshot goes off?
I immediately started running.
And where did you run?
I ran towards the front gate.
I'm gonna publish what's already been admitted as State's Exhibit 8, Charlie. So, you see that car on the right, Mr. Pass? The gray car closest to the camera on the right side? And, Mr. Pass, I'm gonna use this pointer myself. You see this car right here?
Yes, sir.
So, where is that car in general in relation to where this robbery happened?
That car wasn't there.
Using that car as kind of like a reference point, is that the kind of side of parking lot y'all were on, or was it not?
That is the side of the parking lot we was on.
And using this, where did you take off to?
Towards the front gate down the parking lot.
Now, where did Mr. Dotson go?
He took off running in the opposite direction.
Okay. I'm gonna publish 11, Charlie. Now, I'm gonna need your help on this, Mr. Bass. So, where did you ever end up going outside of the gate?
I did.
Okay. Can you show the jury what part of this, if any, on this photograph that you left that apartment complex when you were running after the gunshot?
Show them which way I left out.
Correct.
Okay.
If there's any, if it's shown in this photo. Now, is that a part of the gate that leads to the sidewalk?
Correct.
Okay. Now, once you got passed through there, did you hear anything else?
It was about 3 shots, but after I got past that, I ain't hear nothing else.
Now, when these 3 shots, where did it sound like they were coming from?
Behind me.
And how close did it sound like they got to you?
All of them were real close.
How did you react to that?
I was astonished. I wasn't shot, you know.
Has anything like that happened to you while living in Summerdale apartment complex before?
No, sir.
And where did you, once you got through this gate, where did you end up running to?
I ran towards the gas station by the McDonald's.
Is that the BP?
Yes.
Now, I want to ask you a couple questions, Mr. Bass, all right?
Mm-hmm.
So, after this was all over, do you ever remember speaking to any police officer?
I do.
Okay. Was it a detective?
It was.
Were they with Atlanta Police Department?
Yes, sir.
Now, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. If you know them, let me know. If you don't, that's fine too, all right?
Okay.
So, do you remember speaking with this detective, this Atlanta Police Department detective on September 18, 2023?
Say that date again.
September 18, 2023?
I do.
Okay. Now, when you spoke with this detective, was this armed robbery fresher in your mind or not as fresh in your mind as it is today?
Objection to the characterization of an armed robbery.
I sustain the objection.
Mr. Pass, did that suspect approach you with a gun? Approach you and Mr. Dotson with a gun?
Correct.
Now, did you ever come to learn if anything was taken from that vehicle?
Objection to the hearsay.
No.
I'm overruling the objection.
Now, when he, what did you think that armed gunman who shot at you was after? Was he there to talk with you, to take
Objection
something?
is speculation.
I sustain the objection.
When he approached you with a gun and said, you know what time it is, what did you think he wanted from you?
Some money.
Did you think he was trying to rob you while armed?
Yes.
Would you call that an armed robbery?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Pass, I'm gonna keep going, all right? So September 18th, you're talking to an Atlanta Police Department detective, all right?
Mm.
And I'm gonna ask you a couple things if you recall telling me, okay? So, do you remember the address of these apartment complexes?
No, I don't remember.
Okay. Do you recall telling the detective that
Objection leading.
I sustain the objection.
Your Honor, may I approach? I'm trying to lay a foundation for a prior inconsistent statement.
Can I respond, Judge? Can I respond?
Yes, you may.
Yes, the witness has not indicated he doesn't remember, and has not indicated
I
that.
sustain the objection.
Thank you.
Your Honor, may I approach with the case?
You need to lay a foundation, Mr. Atkins.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Mr. Pass,
Yes.
do you remember when you spoke with that Atlanta Police Department detective, were you truthful in what you told him?
I was.
And was the circumstances of this day, when this gunman approached and shot at you, was your memory of those events better on September 18, 2013, or as you sit here today?
Better then.
And so, is there some things today in terms of details? Is there any things that I've asked you thus far that you do not remember?
It has been.
If some of the questions I've asked you, Detective Quinn asked you, or you gave answers to, would those be more or less accurate than what you told him back then?
I understand the question.
That's all right, it's a bad question, let me ask another one. So if I ask you some questions today that you don't know, all right? Would your answers back then to Detective Quinn to those same questions, would they be fair and accurate?
Objection, asked and answered.
Oh, the objection, Mr. Adams.
So I'll put it this way, Mr. Matt. Is there some things, so with some of the things that we talked about today, like the details,
Yes.
if some of these details you don't remember today, but you talked about with that detective on September 18th, would your answers to those questions that you gave him be correct?
Yes.
Vague and false speculation.
I'm gonna overrule it. I should say I'm gonna sustain the objection on all the grounds, Mr. Adams.
Mr. Paz, when you answered the detective's questions on September 18th, 2013, did you tell him to the best of your memory, did you answer his questions to the best of your memory as you had it back then?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall, or what is the address of the apartment complex, Mr. Paz?
I don't remember the address.
Do you recall telling the detective on September 18th,
Objection.
2013,
Same objection, Your Honor.
that it was,
Well, I'm sorry, what's the objection
Same
basis?
objection, Judge.
What's the basis?
Uh,
I'm only one at a time, Mr. Matthews.
I'm sorry, Judge, trying to get up. There's no foundation laid.
I'm gonna sustain the objection.
Your Honor, may I approach with a case?
You all may approach, but
Mr. Bass, I'm gonna ask you some more questions, all right?
Okay.
So, do you recall, I had asked you what color that handgun was? Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
And, is it fair to say you didn't remember the color of that gun?
Yes, it is.
Now, do you recall telling the detective the color of the gun back in September 18th of 2020?
I may have.
And if you told him the color of the gun back then, do you think it would be accurate or not accurate to the color of the gun?
I think it'd be accurate.
Okay. Do you remember telling that detective that the gun was silver?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Mr. Pass, and this is a hard question, but you remember I asked you, do you know what can the gun was in?
No, sir.
If you had told the detective back on September 18th of 2013 what hand the gun was in, do you think that that would be an accurate statement back then?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall telling Detective Quinn that the gun was in the suspect's right hand?
No, I do not.
Okay. Now, I know you weren't able to see facial features, but do you have any in general, what did this gunman look like? Were they a male or a female?
It was a male.
And what do you remember about them, if anything, in terms of their description? If you had to describe them to the best of your ability, what would you say?
I'd say African American.
Okay. Now, do you know how tall they were?
About the same height as Derek.
Okay.
Mr. Dotson. About the same height as Mr. Dotson.
If you had the ballpark, how tall was Mr. Dotson? Or how tall was this gunman?
Maybe about 2 inches taller than Mr. Dotson.
Okay. Let me ask this. How tall are you?
I'm 5'8".
Okay. And if you told the detective about the suspect's height back then, do you think it would have been an accurate statement back then?
I don't think so.
Would the height you gave Detective Quinn on September 18, 2013 be better or worse description of his height as your memory is today?
I'm not sure.
Okay, that's fair. Now, do you recall telling the detective what his height was?
No, I don't remember.
Okay. Do you recall telling the detective that the suspect was about your height, 5'9"?
I don't remember.
That's fair. Now, do you remember about how much he weighed?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you recall telling the detective how much he weighed?
No, sir.
Do you recall telling the detective that he weighed about 135 pounds?
No.
That's fair. Do you remember what kind of clothing this gunman had on?
No, I don't.
Do you remember telling the detective what kind of clothing he had on back on September 18th?
No.
Do you recall telling him that he had on a red shirt and black shorts?
No.
Okay, and that's fair. Now, do you recall what kind of hairstyle this gunman had?
I don't remember.
Okay. Do you recall telling the detective what kind of hair he had?
No, sir.
Do you recall telling Detective Quinn that he had an afro?
No.
Now, how many shots did he have when he first approached him? You testified earlier about shooting on the ground, right?
Yes.
How many shots was that?
Just one.
Okay. And this may be a silly question, I gotta ask it. How quickly was Mr. Dotson running away?
The first time the gun went off, he was like, like moving his leg, like, hold on, boy, hold on, you tripping. And he took off running.
And how quickly was he once he did take off running?
I ain't seen him no more. I was already still running too. Like, the last part I remember, because I was telling him to run and I was finna run, so.
And you took off running after he did?
Yes.
Did did you have any idea where this gunman came from before he appeared by y'all's car?
No, I had no idea where he came from.
Now, do you recall the detective meeting you at the apartment complex when he was talking with you?
Actually, I'm not sure who the detective is. But I do remember speaking with somebody that evening, later on that day.
And when he talked with you, was it at the Summerdale apartment complex? Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Now, do you remember showing this detective where your car was parked?
No, I don't.
Okay. Would where you showed this detective your car was parked, would that have been probably where it was parked? In terms of, let me ask it this way. Even though you don't recall it, if you had showed the detective and said, hey, we parked in this spot.
Yes.
And do you recall pointing out to the detective the direction?
Outstanding question.
Mr. Bass, do you recall talking with this detective about where the gunman came from?
No, I never discussed that with him.
Okay. And if you had discussed it with him or pointed anything out, would it have been where the gunman came from?
At that time when I spoke with the detective, it was night, so it was like different and stuff.
That's fair.
And there was cars in the parking lot, so I couldn't like show him.
One brief moment, Mr. Bass, all right?
Okay.
Now, Mr. Bass, whose car were you all in when this happened?
We was in Mr. Dotson's car.
Okay. And did this gunman, did he do anything to conceal his identity from you all? In terms of like what he was wearing on his face?
No.
No more questions. Thank you, Mr.
Cross.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pass.
Good afternoon.
All right, my name is Keith Adams, sir. You and I have not had the pleasure of talking before, is that correct? We've not met before.
No, sir.
Okay. I want to ask you a couple questions about what you just testified to.
Yes.
And this was 2013, so a little bit over 10 years ago, is that right?
I'm not sure when it was, but I guess I'll keep the records. This.
Okay, it was a long time ago.
Yes.
All right. So the day that this happened, you were living at Summerdale Commons apartment, true?
Correct.
All right. You were leaving the apartment on that day. And in fact, you did leave the apartment, didn't you?
Yes.
You and Mr. Dotson were in a vehicle.
Yes, sir.
You all left the location, true?
Yes.
And then you came back to Summerdale Commons apartments, right?
Yes.
All right. When you get back to the apartment complex, you are in the passenger side of the car, right?
Yes.
Mr. Dotson is on the driver's side, right?
Correct.
It is just the two of you in that vehicle at that time, right?
Correct.
All right. Now, was the car parked when all of this happened?
The car was parked.
Okay, so am I correct then that Mr. Dotson had pulled the car into a parking space?
Correct.
All right, and at some point, after the car is parked, you and Mr. Dotson, you sat in the car, listened to some music for a little while, right?
Yes.
And then you heard, or you recognized that there was someone coming up to the car door,
No, they didn't come to the car door.
okay? They were coming towards the car. Is that right?
Mr. Dotson was already out the car. They approached him.
Okay, so Mr. Dotson gets out of the car, right?
Yes.
Are you still in the car at that time, or did you also get out?
I was getting out at that time.
You were what now?
I was getting out at that time.
Okay. Someone comes up and says something to the effect of, Dirty Red, you already know what it is, right?
You know what time it is.
You know what time it is. Right?
Yes.
You heard that.
Yes.
And the next thing you heard was a gunshot go off,
Yes.
all right? The person who came up and said Dirty Red, and that was in fact Derek Dotson's nickname, right? Dirty Red.
Yes.
So the person called him by his nickname, right? True?
Correct.
All right. And so at that point, you heard, you saw this person, and the person was an African-American male, a black man, right?
Yes, sir.
I know you asked earlier about the description. You said, did you say you don't recall telling the detective that the person had like a short afro?
Yes, I don't recall.
Okay. The person was not that tall though, right?
It's kind of, I can't really remember. I don't know.
Okay.
I wasn't that close to the person.
Okay. You were on the other side of the car.
Yes.
All right. You heard a shot go off. One shot, right?
Yes, one shot.
The shot is, did you see the person shoot in the direction of Derek Dotson's feet?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Now, so if the car is right here, all right, you're on the passenger side of the car, correct?
Yes.
Derek Dotson is on the driver's side of the car, right?
He was in front of the car, on the driver's side of the car. He, like you just getting out of the car and walk straight. He was walking straight from the door.
Like if this is the car right here, he's like up here near the front of the car on the driver's side.
Yes.
Okay. The person then comes and you hear the shot, right?
I heard the shot.
Right. Shot at his feet, and Mr. Dotson takes off in what direction?
He didn't take off immediately. He said, "You tripping, man? What going on?" You know, like that. Like trying to figure out is maybe somebody trying to, you know, have a bad day or something, you know, maybe, you know. And then he was like, "You know what time it is?" And that's when I told him to run.
You told him to run.
I said, "Run."
Right.
And
Did you run?
he took out running, and I took out running. We both were left in different directions.
Okay. You ran towards the front of the apartment complex, right?
Correct.
Towards the gate.
Yes.
Mr. Dotson ran in the opposite direction, correct?
Yes.
The person with the gun ran where? After Mr. Dotson?
I don't know.
You don't know.
No.
You didn't see where that person went.
No, I didn't.
Okay. But and you're not looking because you're running towards the front of the apartment complex at that point, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay. You don't know where the gunman went, and you don't know where Mr. Dotson went. Is that true?
No, I don't know.
Okay. You didn't see the gunman, the person with the gun, do anything after that, right?
No, I didn't.
So you're not in a position to tell this jury, I saw him go in this direction or that. You can't tell, you don't know what he did.
Who, the gunman?
Yes.
No, I don't know what the gunman did. I was running.
Right.
I know some shots was coming at me, though, while I was running. I was still going.
All right. When you start running, then you hear some other gunshots, don't you?
Yeah, I was gone, man.
So let me, and I need you to estimate for me, right?
Okay.
From the time you take off running, right, to the time you hear some more gunshots, how much time has passed?
I say count seconds, about 30 seconds.
Okay.
Maybe a little less.
Okay. So sounds like pretty close in time.
Yeah.
Okay. You're running, you hear some gunshots. Do you hear any more gunshots after that second series of shots?
I don't recall.
Okay. When you ran out the front gate, now, well, actually, before we get there, although this guy with the gun came up and said, Dirty Red, you already know what time it is. You didn't see him take anything from Mr. Dotson, did you?
He dropped the money on the ground.
What money was dropped on the ground?
Mr. Dotson, he dropped some money on the ground. because we were coming back from paying bills and running errands and stuff, you know. And he had cash on him. I had gave him my portion of my rent. He had cash on him. And I was just telling him we need to go to the bank and stuff, but we were getting lunch, you know, and we were gonna do it. But that's what happened soon we got out the car, and I was really upset.
So your testimony is that at some point after the gunman walks up, Derek Dotson drops some cash on the ground.
No, after the gunman shot at the ground, he dropped the money on the ground he had in his pocket. He said, "You can have it." Like he didn't say you can have it, but he threw it out of his pocket, like, you know, you can have it, you know.
Okay.
He just dropped it on the ground.
And
I told him to run. And I looked around and tried to see, make sure nobody else was coming, make sure I'm in the clear, and I took off running, and he took off running. Both of us left different directions.
And you saw the gunman, the guy with the gun, pick up the money that was on the
I didn't
ground?
see him pick it up. I was already gone.
Okay. All right. I want to jump ahead a little bit because you remember talking to a detective at some point after that, right?
Correct.
You remember the detective actually came to the apartment complex and was talking to you outside, right?
Yes.
All right. You remember telling that detective that there wasn't any money taken or you didn't see any money taken?
I don't recall telling him that.
Okay. But you certainly did talk to the detective and told him everything that you remembered on that day, right?
Correct.
And it was, let me see. If this happened on the 13th of September, it was about 5 days later on the 18th when the detective showed up to the apartment complex and spoke to you. That sound about right?
I guess it's about in the same range.
Couple days?
Yeah.
Okay. Now today, your recollection is that Dirty Red dropped some money and you didn't see the government pick it up, but you saw a money drop, right?
Yes.
Now, I want you to think real hard and would you, after thinking about it for a while, admit that that is absolutely not what you told the detective back then?
Objection, Your Honor.
Basis.
It's argumentative to a point even for cross.
What's the impeachment judge?
I'm over the objection. You can answer it.
Want to answer again?
Yes, please.
Okay. After thinking about it right now, are you willing to admit that this whole thing about dropping money on the ground, you didn't tell the detective anything about that, did you?
Objection, Your Honor.
Basis.
Willing to admit he's testifying.
I sustain the objection.
I don't remember.
Do you know if the detective was recording your statement?
Yes, I do remember.
Was he?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Did I hear you say that you don't really have a good recollection of what the person was wearing that day, do you?
No, sir.
Okay, you don't remember a red shirt,
No, sir.
afro?
No, sir.
All right, Mr. Pass, that's all I have. Thank you.
Any additional cross? Yes, Mr. App, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Pass. How are you?
I'm doing well.
My name's Jay Apt. I represent Mr. Diamante Kendrick. Do you know who Diamante Kendrick is?
Never heard of him.
Do you know this man sitting in the white sweater next to me?
No, sir.
Does he have anything to do with this case that you're aware of?
No, sir.
Thank you. No other
Not that
questions?
I'm aware of.
No, I'm sorry, what was
Not that
that?
I'm aware of.
Thank you. No other questions?
Anybody else? Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, at this point in time. And Mr. Pass be permanently temporarily excuse the witness.
Permanently excuse, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Pass,
Yes, sir.
sir, thank you for your patience with us. I'm going to go ahead and permanently excuse you as a witness. Please don't discuss your testimony with anybody except the attorneys in this case, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, call your next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. The state calls Detective Summer Benton to the stand.
Summer Benton?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. Summon Detective Benton, please. All right, Detective Benton, good afternoon, madam. If you would please approach the witness stand. Once you get there, if you would turn and face Sergeant Ingram and be sworn as a witness, please, before you sit down.
I do. Summer R. Benton, Summer. R is my middle initial. Benton, B as in boy, E-N, T as in Tom, O-N.
Good afternoon, Detective Benton.
Good afternoon.
Where are you currently employed?
City of Atlanta Police Department Homicide Unit,
And how long have you been with the city of Atlanta?
over 22 years,
How long have you been in the homicide unit?
almost 15 years.
Do you have any specialization within the homicide unit? Currently?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
I specialize in child murders, any type of child deaths, cold cases, and complex cases,
How long have you specialized in child murder?
since 2019.
Now, before becoming a homicide detective, what was your role within APD?
Oh, I had many roles before coming to a homicide detective. After the academy, I was an officer in Zone 5 on the streets on a bicycle, handling 911 calls in a patrol car, specialized in vehicle larcenies, when a member of an undercover team for FIT, made detective, went to narcotics for a few years, major crimes response unit, and then was transferred to, spent some time in Vice, and then got transferred to homicide.
You have mentioned FIT. What is FIT?
FIT is the Field Investigative Team. It's a plainclothes unit that can have readily accessible their badge and credentials. So they're not undercover, they're just plainclothes.
Detective Benton, do you have any familiarity with firearms?
Yes.
Can you explain for the jury your training experience in firearms?
Every year, we have to go through a certain number of hours of firearms proficiency tests. And every year you have to pass in order to be able to retain your post status as a police officer and have arrest powers. So every year we go through a full day of firearms training plus an extra 4 to 5 hours on another given day. This year we're switching firearms, so we're going to go through a 2 full day of firearms. So I get firearms training at least twice a year.
I venture to guess that includes loading and unloading firearms?
Yes.
And do you have any training of rendering weapons safe if you encounter out in the field?
We have to have that training when we go to our courses, when we were at the academy. We have to be able to take our weapons apart, put them back together, be able to take them apart and clean them, put them back together with the oil. And also we go through strategic policies of how to render a firearm safe.
Now, Detective Benton, do you have any training experience with preserving and examining crime scenes?
Yes.
Can you explain that for the jury?
So well over 17 years as an investigator, one of the first things we do as once we make detective is we go through investigator schools. I've been through probably 4 different investigator schools: DEA, FBI, GBI, and of course our own here in the Atlanta Police Department. And in each one of those, we have a course that is crime scene processing, crime scene preservation, responding to crime scenes, where we learn how to draw scenes. We learn how what can be readily identified as evidence. Basically, our motto is we'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
And have you drawn crime scene sketches in your experience?
Yes, sir.
If you had the ballpark, how many crime scene sketches have you created for a case?
Well over 100.
Did you create a crime scene sketch for this case?
Yes, sir, I did.
Good, Judge. Can we approach briefly, please?
You may. So, ladies and gentlemen, remember your admonitions. We're going to be in recess 15 minutes. All rise. Huh? Yeah, they asked for a comfort break.